Ready for this job?
No.
What's up everybody, George from Renegade GT. So today is the day we're gonna put in the lift. I'm excited and I'm nervous because who knows, something could happen. We have Jake. Jake's gonna help out. He's in the garage getting stuff set up. I'm excited. We're both excited. He's excited to do it. I'm excited for him to do it. We're actually out at my dad's shop. We're gonna use this space because it's bigger and it's got a bathroom and it's heated. But yeah, let's go ahead, go inside and get started. Let's not waste any more sunlight. As you can see, the sun's going down, so let's get this going. Okay, we got the car in the garage. Ignore how dirty it is and gross, but it's fine. There he is. Gross. All right. Not a whole lot of room, but just enough room to work. It'll be fine. Like I said, it's borrowed space, so I'm okay with that and grateful. Alright guys, so before we actually put in this lift, first thing we want to do is we're going to just measure it out, see how high it sits right now. And let me try to zoom in, and there you go. See, it sits right at 31, maybe a little higher. We're going to do the back. It should be the same. Yeah, just barely a couple centimeters off, but they're pretty much 31.
Let's get started. Put that on soft.
Channel locks, flashlight, crescent wrench, axle socket, flathead screwdriver, grinder, pry bar, and a nifty little tool. This tool is really cool because it is actually made specifically to remove windshield wipers. And we're about to start now. This is how long it's going to take us to do this job. First thing you want to do is pop the hood. So just to be safe, we're going to remove the negative battery terminal. We're going to make sure we have no current going through the car for any specific reason. Plus it does tell you in the instructions to take it off anyway, so we're not going to risk it. We're going to do that. Make sure we have no accidents. Alright guys, so something you don't want to forget to use. It come in very handy, and by the sounds of it, a lot of the links have issues where they come loose. So it's good to use something like this, thread locker, or you can get that Loctite, whatever brand, doesn't matter. Just go with the blue. You don't want to go with the red. Blue's good. The last thing I want to talk to you about is this little guy caused big pain. We literally had to go outside of town to find this, and it is, what is it? It's one of the tools you need. It's an E20 Torx bit socket, and apparently these things are far hard to find, but you can find them. As you can see, we got it at Napa. You will have to go find this individually, or if you're lucky, you can find it in a set. So there are 5 tabs you need to remove to get to the bottom screws for the strut. So you got first one down here, you got a second one there, third one, fourth one, and fifth one. You got to remove this plastic piece to get to your windshield wipers to get to the bottom struts. Bolts are down here. That's why we have to remove this whole piece. Very easy. As you can see right here, you just want to take your screwdriver and just plop up. Very simple. So after we take those tabs off, we want to take off the windshield wipers. So you want to pull this little plastic piece off. Don't lose it, I caught it. And we're going to take our ratchet with our socket, size 17. Put it in this bad boy. Oh, careful not to break anything or damage. Oh, there we go. Take this guy off, and then we're going to show the special tool.
So you can remove your wipers, but these are really stuck on there, so it's a lot of work to pry them off. They do make a special tool for it, and I recommend getting it because it makes your life a whole lot easier. It slips underneath the wiper and presses down on it to remove it easily in one piece. Just get her slipped under there, tighten the teeth down in place, and then spin the top down until she pops free. There. And just like that, whole thing pops free. Talk about lifesaver. So, once the wipers are pulled off, you go ahead and remove the whole plastic cowl.
All right, guys, and then once that's removed, down here is what we wanted to get to. These 3 strut bolts is what we need to take off to get to the first suspension for the front, both sides. Next thing you want to do is loosen up your tires. Okay, guys, so next thing we're doing now is we're going to jack up the car just so we can get some good clearance. We're going to jack up right in the center to get both sides up. We are using a 2x4 to kind of flatten things out, let a little less damage that way. So we are going to use jack stands, as you saw in the beginning, just to keep it secure, make sure we have things proper. So in your bag of hardware, all this stuff, there are 2 spacers that we're going to need. This is for the exhaust. So I'm going to just cut the bag a little bit just to get those out. I don't want all these pieces flying everywhere. But if you look on your instructions, it is literally the last thing labeled where it says hardware. And that would be these guys. This should be 13 millimeters. And you only have 2 of them. You're going to need those for the exhaust. Since we started on the rear, this is what we're going to do first. Down here, there are 2 13 millimeter bolts we need to take out. In order to do that, we also have to bring our jack stand to bring it up to the muffler. This is going to be lowering the muffler so we can put the spacer for the muffler on there. Like I said, 13 millimeter bolts, and we're using the jack stand for the muffler. Down here is one of your 13 millimeters you got to take off. It's right next to your muffler hanger. So take your 13 millimeter wrench and socket. Go ahead and take this thing out. This is the comparison. This is what we took out, the 13 millimeter. This is what we're going to put in. This is the spacer, so we're going to put this in the way it goes. This spacer goes in between the washers and the bracket itself. Once you remove your bolt, you should be able to add your spacer. Just put it in between the bracket and the frame of your car. Grab your new bolt, shove it in, and tighten it all down. So you want to do the same thing on the opposite end. Just note there are other 13 millimeter bolts that are a little shorter. Go with those. We're going to remove this whole inner liner piece. So if you look over here, we have Phillips head screwdrivers. We're going to need to use to remove these pieces. It goes all the way across. So you have a 10 millimeter up here. Down here you have another one. Looks like across you have one up top. And then we have another one back in here. So something I forgot to mention earlier, guys. On this side there are 2 pop tabs that I mistaken for Phillips head, so we will have to pop those out as well. I guess there's another Phillips down here, so far I counted 5. So there is one hidden spot where you can't see it, but it's there. Down here, I don't know if you can see it very well, there is a 13 millimeter that you need to take out. Last thing was, you do have 3 pop tabs you have to take out. So there's 3 pop tabs, there are 5 Phillips head screws, 4 10 millimeters nuts you got to take off, and then 1 13 that you can take off by hand. Let's try to take out this piece now. So it is going to get caught up on the lip up top, so you kind of have to work around it. Might be a little aggressive. Alrighty, there it goes. Now it's naked and exposed. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to add the puck spacers to the brake line down here. So down up in here there is another 13 millimeter bolt that we got to take out. So we're just going to take this out, lower it down, put the puck in there. That should be loose enough. There we go. It's out. Now this is loose. We're going to be switching to this, upgrading the bolt a little bit bigger. Still keeping the 13 with your 2 washers. Here's a bit of a better angle of that puck we just installed. It was a pretty easy install. You just got to remove the bolt, add the provided bolt that was given, and tighten it back up. but I do apologize. It was kind of hard to get some good footage. Pizza time!
A few moments later.
Alright guys, so after the brake line puck, we're going to be working on the subframe. So if you look over here, you have 4 of these. You got 2 on each side. 1 here, 1 over there. So the way you want to do it is you want to take your jack, you want to obviously jack it up to the point where you have it held up in the air. And then you're going to loosen all 4. You don't want to take them off, you just want to loosen them. And then you want to work one at a time. So we're going to take this out, put this up top, and do the same to the other ones. I want to remind you, this is that special tool that we needed, the E20 external socket that we were trying to find. These are also very tight, so we're going to break out this breaker bar just to give us that extra leverage. Alright, so we have all the other pucks in. Over here is the last one. We just got to tighten it down. We're using a 22mm socket with the provided bolt that it gives you. And let me just tell you guys right now, it is very helpful to have extra set of hands, just because this cradle likes to move around, so you might have to move it around back and forth. But we got it. So tighten this bad boy down and then move on to the next step. So down here is our next step. You see these 3 control arms? Well, we want to loosen the bolts for them, and they do take the E18 socket. You want to loosen these up just so we don't damage the bushings in there. We loosen them up so we can get up to this guy right over here, and this is for our trailing arm that we're going to put this spacer in. So when you're down here, it's good to use a backdrop or a little support. See, I'm using a 16 back here so you can hold the nut in place while I try to loosen this up. As you can see, Jake is working on taking off the trailing arm bushing. You will need the E14 socket to get 4 bolts out. Once all 4 are removed, we'll be able to install this guy right here. This is going to sit right up top, right up there, give it that 2-inch lift. That would be right after we loosened up these 3 control arms. Well, the next thing we're going to do is going to remove these 2 10mm bolts. Also up top there's 1 more. We're going to do also is remove these 2 lines. It just takes a little screwdriver to push them out, little push tabs. And we're going to remove the charcoal canister so we can add these brackets to it.
To remove these lines, you have to put a little screwdriver, push down on that tab, which you can't see very well, and then press down on the outside of this tab. Both lines just pop out.
Just letting you guys know that we only filmed the back passenger side, as it is the only side that has a charcoal canister. Just repeat the same process on the opposite end, you'll be golden. There we go. I'm gonna unplug this. Just test fitting right now, but if you follow the instructions to what it tells you, it might seem a little weird and off, but trust me, once you have it all bolted down, it makes sense. So what you're looking at is what it should look like when you have it all bolted down correctly. So this is our next step. These 2 right here, we're going to remove in order for us to have enough room to pull that down and put that spacer up there. Now down here you're going to need the E18 socket. We're going to take these out just to give us that extra room. Alright guys, when you get to the top, you want to remove 3 bolts up top. You're going to need your E14 external socket. As you can see down here, we remove those 2 bolts just to give us more wiggle room and access up top. We got the spacer in, yay! It was actually a little easier on this side compared to the last side. The other side was a little trickier. But we got it in, tighten it down. Next thing we're going to do is make sure we tighten everything back up. That includes the control arms and the arm over here. Strut assembly bolts back in, tighten everything down. And then the last thing that we have not put back in yet is the charcoal canister. So it looks like we have the rear fully finished. The only thing left is to throw the splash shield back on. So before you put everything away and close it all up, double check everything, make sure everything looks good. Just plug everything back in. Don't forget to plug those in. Just double check everything. Okay, so we moved on to the front. Right now we're jacking up the front, getting ready to get to the front tires. We'll tackle one end and then we'll show you how to do it on the other side. So when it comes to the front spacer, it's going to ask you to take these studs and you're going to have to double nut it. So that's what it looks like when you get it ready. You're going to use the bigger washer, the bigger nut on the bottom, the shorter one up top, and you're basically just going to keep screwing it in until you get it all the way through. So that hasn't had the process done to it, but that's what it looks like before you do anything. And then right over here is what it looks like when it's fully finished.
So you're supposed to take a 17 millimeter to get this nut off. Unfortunately, we already did that without filming, so we're not gonna put it back on. But you're supposed to make the nut sit flush and then hit it with a hammer so you're striking the nut and then just the top of your tie rod, and then it just pops out. Get that out of the way and you can move on to the next step. So this right here is your sway bar link. This also needs to be removed so you can get the strut assembly out. And it's an 18 millimeter wrench, and you can just take that out till the whole thing starts to spin. Then add a Torx 40 bit. In this case, I'm just using a handle, and you can hold that in place while you're finishing loosening that, so you can get that out of the way next. Same way here on the back with a Torx 40 bit and a number 18, but there's so little room to work that we're just gonna go ahead and break it off, because your rough country kit comes with adjustable end links, so you don't have to worry about trying to save this one. And with this out of the way, you can just put vice grips on it and then easily take the rest of it off without having to fight it and save a bunch of time. Just put vice grips right on that and wrench away. With the 2 inches change in height, you have to remove your cables because you're dropping the shock out of the way and it's attached too. So you don't want to put any stress on your lines. These ABS lines can wiggle out. Fairly simple, ouch. And then up top too, that's completely free and able to float. And then if you can see right in here is a little spring clip. That's just retaining your brake cable. So we gotta pull the spring cable out next. Just get a needle nose pliers, bring it down and undo that. Okay, it's gone forever, don't put it back, it's not worth it. And then wiggle your brake line free. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. All right, now that's free. You gotta pull these 2 nuts out. You can remove your shock assembly.
So one quick thing to tell you, there is a safe way and then there's a faster way of doing this. The safe way is taking a 36 millimeter to push this guy through from the hub. Now you could detach it from here, from the hub itself, and just carefully work around it. Believe it or not, Rough Country does not tell you to take off the or push in the axle. They do recommend going with the removing of the hub. So that's what we're gonna do. Alright guys, so up top here you want to remember to loosen up your bolts. Don't take them out all of the way. You just want to loosen them for now, just to get some wiggle room on the bottom. And that would be your E14 socket. We're going to remove these 2. You're going to need an E20 and a 16 millimeter to hold the back. Remember, you do want to be cautious with this since we are taking the quicker route. You just don't want to cause any damage. It can lead to a lot of money. So we're about to take out the bolts here, and this is once again where I say it's always handy to have an extra pair of hands. You need someone to hold it, keep it steady while you go up top and fully remove these parts, these studs.
With the top bolts removed, you'll be able to remove your strut assembly and your hub will fall forward. So one guy can keep his hand on it pressed backward while removing the strut assembly, and then we'll secure this out of the way so it'll be safe. Put that over there, and we move to secure the hub.
So we're gonna tie this down just to kind of keep it balanced and straight and keep it from moving around. So while we try to put the last spacer in.
So there's 3 indentations on your spacer, and those need to be facing the tire. They mark it because it has a little offset for your alignment, so it'll line up right. But you place it on there, you're gonna bolt it down, and you'll see these 2 line up with the front base, which is gonna be facing the tire. The bolts that mount your spacer to your strut are 17 millimeter. So go ahead and put those 3 on there. Just get them pretty tightened up.
Well, as you saw, we do have to do a little light grinding. It is part of the instructions, so as you can see, we ground off a lot of the edge, a lot of that lip. You really need to do it just to get that clearance so you don't scratch or scrape up any of your boots.
Otherwise it'll hit the axle.
So the way we're gonna do it is Jake's gonna load up the strut assembly straight up, and as he does that, I'm going to try to align it for him. Back in, it was a struggle, but we finished. Actually, I think we're pretty much done all around. We just got to tighten everything down, top and bottom, put everything back, tires, everything, and pause. Boom. Well, unfortunately, that's longer than when we wanted, but we would have finished a long time ago, but we did a lot of filming, a lot of reshoots, just a lot of little things. Kind of ran into little hiccups here and there.
It's pretty bad.
And we also had some food, so we kind of slowed it down. But it's getting late, so we're gonna call it.
Down, get the wheels on, and go home.
Yeah, let's call it. So guys, we had a problem. I didn't film this part because it was getting kind of late. We were both tired. We just wanted to get done. It sounds like something's rubbing in the rear. Something with sounds like the left tire. It sounds like rubber rubbing against something. We can't figure out what it is. We're trying to look into it. Also, bigger problem, I think we may have messed up the passenger side axle. When I test drove it, we heard a rattle, shake. Sounds like popping sounds, yeah. So
pop, pop, pop. So probably an axle problem. Probably should have disconnected the axle from the hub, but we thought we were careful, but obviously we weren't careful enough. We gotta find out what's going on. We've been testing this for a while. We can't get it to make any noises now, like anything's wrong with it. No axle pop, no rear rubbering issue like we had earlier. Almost acting like it's normal. We didn't really change anything. We just put it up, put it back down, and readjusted the sway bar end links. But now we can't get it to replicate the noises.
we decided to take the car on a test drive on the highway. We didn't actually have any more issues with the popping sound or with that rubber scraping sound. Honestly, we just think maybe the lift needed to settle in, and it was probably the sway bar link on the passenger side that needed tightened, since that is a common issue with these lifts. Alright guys, so today's the day. I get to take the car to the shop. Just got off of work, so I'm just gonna quickly make a run that way, and thinking that's gonna be it. I think that should be it. I mean, we haven't had any issues. Nothing else has been popping or sounding weird or off, so hopefully that's it. I'm gonna go drop it off and we'll pick it up tomorrow, and I'll let you know what happens. What's up everybody? So it's actually been a couple days since I got the car back from the shop. I didn't have time to drive it too much, so I'm out here now, got it back. Everything seems to be driving fine. So far I think everything went well. One thing I'm gonna try to see real quick is what the measurements is for the clearance that we got. As you can see, we're totally getting robbed, yo. We're not even at the full 2-inch lift. Technically, I think we measured out at 31, so it's not quite there, but what you get, 1.5 inches, maybe 1 3/4 inches, so that's not bad. But if you get springs on or you get bigger tires, rims, then you would definitely get up a little higher than that too. But to be honest, I'm pretty satisfied with it. So one thing I wanted to bring up, guys, so obviously me and Jake did put this in, and I think total with the kit and the alignment, I paid around $500, which is pretty good because the shop that was quoting me was giving me a $1,750 is what they wanted, and that's just, I didn't want to spend that. So I mean, what, I saved a little over $1,000, so that's definitely a win, I think. And we did not really have issues besides that sway bar link popping and the other weird rubbing sound we had, but I don't know what happened there. It just must have fixed itself or finally settled in. But yeah, I think we won, and you know, I think we got that. Next on the list would be getting rims and tires, so I'm gonna look into that. Alright guys, I'm ending the video here. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and this is George from Adventure GT signing out.